Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be together once again in all of these new ways. We just wanted to offer a few words to catch us up on where we are and what we've been doing, as well as where we can go from here. So thank you for joining us, and we encourage you to share. Ezra wants to say hello real quick. Do you want to say hello, Ezra? Okay. I don't know. That'll be the first of many interruptions, I imagine. This is part of life, living at home and working at home at the same time. So it's really been incredible to get together, and I wanted to start with a few words of gratitude, of thanks to our leadership. You should have received a phone call from a member of the Temple Israel staff or the executive board. We wanted to check in on everybody. And hopefully you got a phone call or a message. We believe that we got to everybody. And I really want to thank people over this past week for taking that time. And we really were moved by the conversations we were able to have and touching base with everybody. You know, it's one of the many benefits of this new world that we're in is that we can actually be in touch with each other because we have time and we have the technology to do that. So hopefully you received a phone call, and hopefully you got to speak with someone, and if not, we'll be following up soon. But I really want to thank the leadership and the staff. Many of you have tuned in this week, which has been such an incredibly warm feeling to be able to share music with Cantor Kathy and to watch Lauren connect with our students as we had Sunday school by Zoom this past Sunday. And I know that today and in the days to come, there'll be more things for our youth. But most importantly, I think what has struck me is that we have proven in these last weeks that our community is not defined by an address or by walls or by a building, but by the bridges that we can build in the relationships that we have. Our community has truly been a community. I've never felt that the synagogue is as relevant and as important to our lives and personally to my life as I have these last few weeks. And yet we have not gathered in our sanctuary. So what does that say about how important it is that we have these bridges that we have built with each other? There are some places where we have needs. So I wanted to share that with you in the hopes that you can help. First of all, we noticed as we called people that we didn't always have the correct phone number. So if you did not receive a phone call, that is probably because we don't have a correct number for you. If you could please call the office and leave your number, a good number to reach you. In this world, cell phones are best. We promise not to bombard you with phone calls, but we do want to be able to reach out and find everybody so that we can connect. So if you did not get a phone call, that means we don't have a correct number. Please call the office and leave us your number. Secondly, we've created the Temple Israel Virtual Care Facebook group. If you are on Facebook, which we hope that you are, because that is our best way of communicating right now, please look for the Temple Israel Virtual Care Facebook group if you believe that you are somebody who can help one of our many members who does not have Facebook and may not be familiar with social media. If you can help acclimate them to social media so that they can feel more connected to our community. And finally, these last 2 weeks have been filled with experimentation. We have never, ever participated as a Jewish community like this before. And while many of us have been in awe of the ways that we've come together, we know that there are gaps, and we want to hear from you as to where your needs are, what we can do as the world continues to adjust to this new normal. As for our message and where I am and where I think we will be in these next few weeks, tomorrow is the beginning of the month in which we celebrate Passover, and so I know that for us, we're all looking towards Passover being so different. And yet I was reminded by a colleague who shared this quote from Rabbi Eliezer Diamond of JTS, that we are not to forget that the very first celebration of Passover took place before the moment of liberation, before we actually left Egypt. Passover is actually a celebration of the moment before freedom, the moment in which you believe that freedom will come. And so it made me think, yes, this year will be very different, but perhaps this year will be so obviously a year in which Passover is something that we experience, because it's a year in which the terms that we often talk about at Passover have meaning in our real world today. Many have mentioned that plagues and being plagued perhaps is something that we know a little bit more about this year. But also think about how Passover is a time when we ration food, when we hunker down in our home, when we stay around our table, even if normally that table is filled with many, many guests, it's always a family table. And here we are gathered around our family tables as we worry about these illnesses that are outside of our home. And so too, perhaps a little tongue in cheek, there are the traditions of hand washing during the Passover Seder. These are all things that we're experiencing right now, not religiously, but things that religiously we try to create the feeling of what it must have felt like for the Israelites. And we're told at Passover that we are to imagine that we were there walking through the wilderness with the Israelites, experiencing Passover for that very first time. Perhaps this year we'll be able to empathize and sympathize in ways that in the past we've had to imagine. But there are positives too. And so I wanted to offer 4 questions for us that I think come from the tradition of Passover that perhaps we can be thinking about this week. First, the idea of a Seder. Seder means order. Can we set the order, the steps to our journey? Can we look out in these next few weeks and months and say we are going to take certain steps in order to find ourselves liberated from this disease and this virus that is plaguing our society? 2, Haggadah. Where is our voice? The Haggadah is our story. It's our ability to share with those around us what we've experienced. And it's our ability to hear their story as well. Are we able to reach out, to call people, to ask them how they are, perhaps to reach out to people we wouldn't normally speak with as often, or whose stories we wouldn't normally hear? And can we share our story with more vibrancy, more ambition? The idea that we want to share our story, our Haggadah, at this season. Ma nishtana, and I changed the words a little bit. Hashana hazot. How will this year be different? How is it not different? How do we honor what is different this year? How can we look out and be aware of what's changed, of those parts of our life that perhaps many have been saying lately that we take for granted? Ma nishtana will take on such different meaning this year, and I hope that it's a meaning that allows us to become more aware of what's around us. And finally, Hineni Muchan, am I ready? These are the first words in many Haggadahs, and I want to share with you in the Haggadah that my family uses. Before we bless the first cup of wine, it reads, Hineni Muchan, here I am, prepared and ardent, allied and present, ready to perform this mitzvah, the enactment of salvation's promise. As God blessed us and declared to Israel, I will lift you out from under the millstone that is Egypt. Hineni Muchan, am I ready to do what I need to do? Am I ready for mitzvot? Am I ready to help other people? Am I ready to offer my strength to the people in the healthcare professions who right now we know are so worried for their own health and for the health of their patients? Are we ready, Hineni Muchan, for what comes today and what comes tomorrow? I hope that these are questions that we can ask ourselves as we move through this time, our journey towards a time where we once again find ourselves in the wilderness, but on our path towards a promised land. And so, how are we going to do this? Let's talk some logistics in these coming days. What's coming up? Wednesday, tomorrow, at noon, we'll begin our Lunch and Learn series. I meant to put in the title there, I forgot, sorry. We're going to be focusing on Passover and on how Passover, exactly what I just shared. Join us at noon. We'll send out a Zoom link. We will talk about how we will do Passover this year. If you want to learn how to lead a Seder, that's a great way to do it. But also to look at the Haggadah and see what wisdom it has for us as we're experiencing all of those pieces I talked about, perhaps a little differently this year, perhaps more in reality than we have in the past. So how will the Haggadah speak to us? That's what we'll focus on Wednesdays at noon. We invite you to bring your lunch to Zoom as we'll meet virtually, and we'll send that link out again later today. Also tomorrow, the kids can join together in song again with Ken or Kathy, as they've been enjoying, and we have found that the definition of a kid is not somebody under the age of 18, as we know that many of you of all ages have really enjoyed connecting with Ken or Kathy and having her music fill your home. And we will gather together for teen night for our teens who we have yet to connect with, but who we're excited to see tomorrow night as well. Thursday, we're going to continue coffee and conversation with clergy. That was a great Zoom meeting where we gathered. You saw the picture earlier in the slides of Torah study and our coffee and conversation, as well as a number of other meetings have been taking place online where we can all see each other's faces and hear each other's voices. It really is a way to be together in these times. And then Friday in the morning, we have We Sing, and Friday evening, Shabbat services. Given the new order that we stay home, we are going to try, Ken or Kathy and I, to lead services from our respective homes at the same time as we continue to learn new technology and figure out how to do that. So we do not plan to be in our sanctuary, which we are sad about, but we hope that there will be new opportunities, new images that perhaps we can share from our homes. As you join from your home, we can all celebrate Shabbat together again. And we'll send those links out again, but that should be on Facebook Live and through other links that we'll send out. Most importantly, we hope you're all staying safe, staying home, and that if there's anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will be in touch, and we hope to see you at many of these online offerings that we have as we continue to connect as a community and continue to do our work, the mitzvot that the world requires of us at these strange times. See you all soon.